All right, tech issues, 1 second. Are we good? Good? Okay, we're good. Okay, good evening, and welcome to Lookout's primary election forum for the District 5 Santa Cruz County Supervisor seat. I'm Christopher Neely, Lookout's politics and policy correspondent. I also author our In the Public Interest newsletter, to which I'm sure all of you are not only loyally subscribed, but diligently read as well. So launching and running a campaign for public office, especially one that spans across such large swaths of the Santa Cruz Mountains, is not easy, nor is it cheap. But someone has to do it, and tonight we have the 4 people who answered the call to serve. Teresa Bond, right to my left, Christopher Bradford, Tom Decker, and Monica Martinez. And why don't we just give them a round of applause for doing this tonight. So a little about D5. Its southern boundary is around Water Street in Santa Cruz and stretches up north along Highway 9 and the west side of Highway 17, capturing Pasatiempo, Scotts Valley, as well as Felton, Ben Lomond, and Boulder Creek before reaching the Santa Clara County and San Mateo County lines. As the people on stage with me know, it is home to some of the most beautiful and definitely some of the more treacherous landscapes in the county. When we talk about the Feltons, the Ben Lomonds, and the Boulder Creeks, and all these great mountain communities, these are unincorporated communities without their own police force or city council. So county government is the most local form of government, and the District 5 supervisor is basically the mayor for these people. But unlike the mayors in Santa Cruz, Scotts Valley, Watsonville, and Capitola, the District 5 supervisor is a full-time job. And the person who earns the seat will be expected to give their full professional attention to conducting the public's business. A little rundown, it's going to run the same way as the last one. We're going to do 60-second openers. There's going to be a few questions from me, edited by Lookout staff, some audience questions, and then a lightning round. And again, we ask that you hold your applause so we can get through as many questions as possible tonight. And with that, we'll begin with Teresa.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. I am a mom. I live on the summit off of Highway 17. Because of where I live in unincorporated Santa Cruz County, my children attend school in Santa Clara County. I have been elected 3 times, twice to my elementary district, Lakeside, which is on Black Road, and once onto the Los Gatos Saratoga Union High School district, which I sit on today. My jurisdiction is multi-county, Santa Clara and Santa Cruz, so I have 13 years of consecutive experience as a school board trustee. Where I live, we have it's like living off the grid today. We have multiple backups for everything. My children drive to Los Gatos down Highway 17, county roads to 17 to get to school. I have 2 children. They're both young adults. One is a 2022 graduate of UC Santa Cruz in environmental science, and I have a sophomore that is studying in Washington State.
Okay, we got 60 seconds, yep. And look to Ruby here. She's going to let you guys know how much time you have. All right, Chris.
Good evening. Thank you so much for coming and participating. It really means a lot. This is how government gets done. My name is Christopher Bradford. I'm a resident of Boulder Creek, and I've got 6 children and a beautiful wife. That's a lot of kids, yes. I'm a software engineer, a small business owner, and I'm also on the board of directors for the Fire Safe Council. And I'm extremely passionate, about disaster preparedness, about fire mitigation, and about my community. I've worked hard to advocate for my community for years now, and I'm pursuing this seat because of what I experienced as a member of that community directly. I lost my home in the fires, and I worked hard fighting the county to get my family back home with my wife and my family, and it was worse than an uphill battle. Dealing with the county was a second disaster for my family, as it was for many families, and I want to change that, and it's important that we do. All right, thank you.
So my name is Tom Decker. I have 6 children. But 19 grandkids, if you wait long. Yeah, well, they started young.
You win on that.
I win. Huh? Anyway, I've lived in Ben Lomond for 20 years. I've been in the construction business building affordable houses for 40 years. Oh, you can't hear me in the mic? All right. So I've been in the construction business building affordable homes for 40 years. I've lived in Ben Lomond for 20 years. And we actually, in all the years we've lived in our county, we never built any houses there until the fire, because we never wanted to even go into that. Unfortunately, we did, and so now we're in the process of building 10 homes. We finished 3. We're finishing 7 more. Everything Christopher says is true. It's horrible. And that's why I'm doing it, because my customers said, isn't there a faster way to do it? And I said, well, maybe if I had a little bit more squeeze, it would work faster. So that's what started it. And I'm out of time.
Good evening. My name is Monica Martinez. I'm running for 5th District Supervisor, and I have 2 kids. I've been a public servant my entire life. It runs in my family. My dad's a retired fire captain, my mom's a retired elementary school teacher, and making a difference was a given in my family. But you know what wasn't a given in my family? Running for elected office. Because as a queer Latinx woman from Bakersfield, I never saw myself as electable. So I dedicated myself to public service in a different way, giving a voice to people who've been left behind, women, people experiencing homelessness, foster youth, people on the economic margins. And this work brought me to Santa Cruz County, where I'm the CEO of Encompass Community Services, our county's largest health and human services nonprofit. For over a decade, I've used public funding to navigate some of the most complex challenges in our community. I'm also a Felton resident, and I've experienced firsthand the challenges of living in the San Lorenzo Valley. So I'm running for 5th District Supervisor for the same reason I got into public service in the first place, to give a voice to those who've been left behind, because in the 5th District, we feel like we've been left behind. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to do some questions from me, edited by Lookout staff, and we're going to do it kind of forum style, but if there are rebuttals or someone wants to say something, we'll allow that as well. All right, so the first question, the dominant issue, or one of the dominant issues in District 5 and the Santa Cruz Mountains is natural disasters, as many of you brought up. Not only how do we respond and recover, but how do we prepare? No bigger challenge ahead of the next District 5 supervisor than the CZU rebuild. About 911 homes were destroyed in that fire, and only a fraction have been rebuilt. So first, and we'll start with Teresa and work our way down, do you see a path for all homes destroyed in the fire to be rebuilt and reoccupied? If yes, how? And if not, what will you do for the people who are unable to rebuild?
It's a big question. First of all, it's taken way too long to help many families, and trying to do it now will probably be unsuccessful for some. So at this point, those that we can help, I would like to see us designate some money specifically in the budget. And this is one of the things with the taxes that are coming up that I understand why everything needs to go into the general budget. I understand a majority versus a 2/3 requirement. But where that money is put, and for people who have lost their homes, I feel that we need to prioritize to do what we can and streamline the processes that have caused them so many obstacles, jumping through hoop after hoop, being turned down after turned down. And what we can do, we need to say they are number one right now. They don't have homes. They deserve our attention.
So if things are left to play out naturally, most of the folks who've lost their homes have lost them permanently. It took the county so long to respond, and to respond correctly. It still hasn't responded correctly, in my opinion. And so folks have used up the money that was paying for rent. Right? You only get that for so long, and after some time, you end up paying your mortgage and your rent. And unless you're an embarrassed millionaire, it's not happening. Folks are losing the homes that they invested in and losing the land that the home was on. What I would do for people is be a fierce advocate for them. I know for my family, we needed to take an SBA loan out to finish our property. And a lot of folks tried to get those loans. We were able to do it because we put our representatives to work. Gail Polarin, Jimmy Panetta, I called them. My wife called them. We harassed them. We were deeply involved in making sure our representatives contacted the SBA and fought for us. And not everyone has the ability to do exactly that, but the right person in that seat can be that advocate for them. And the person in that seat needs to be a bridge between the federal and state government and the folks down here at home. And so there's opportunity. There's a program right now in California for disaster recovery that's recently decided they'd be able to help people out to the tune of almost $250 million. It has a lot of funding, but no one can get any callbacks from these folks. No one is getting a response. So I'll be the one to ring that bell and get the response from my people.
So the CZU fire, I've been to about 250 of the lots. It turns out even though there's 936 lots, several of them have 2 and 3 and 4 houses. So we're really looking at 1,100 families. So 4 years ago, 1,100 families lost their homes. So far, 37 have been rebuilt. Even Christopher, who's in his house, still doesn't have the final yet, do you? And that could be weeks, months, years. So I've been building houses for 25 years. I built hundreds of homes. Most they're manufactured homes. They're built in a factory. We put them on sites. Probably 95% go in parks. Probably seen parks. But many of them go on parcels. So after a year of watching the fire not happening as far as rebuilding, we thought, well, let's start telling people what we do. You know, go up to Antioch and see our houses like that. We probably spoke with 100 people, of which, in the end, 2 drove all the way up to Antioch, because if you live here, you don't go to Antioch. And they ended up moving out of the state with their family. We put a house, our downtown Boulder Creek, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, which is our campaign headquarters, did it in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And that was with our part-time guys. It normally takes about a week and a half. Putting that same house on a parcel took 20 months. And we lost $100,000 doing it. I've done hundreds of these. I don't lose 100,000, but in this state, I did. I'm out of time.
And Tom, I just want to follow up. So do you see a path for all homes destroyed in the fire to be rebuilt and reoccupied?
Not at all. Not with the way it is structured now.
Okay.
It's designed not to. I have stories about this, but the answer is no.
Sure. Thank you.
So I want to start by acknowledging that the county's response to rebuilding has been completely unacceptable. And we can do better. We should do better. And I think it's bigger than just a CZU issue. It also impacts people who lost their homes through the winter storms last year. It's going to impact those who might lose their home in the future due to another disaster. We've got a systemic issue with our county planning department that we need to resolve. So the first thing I want to know is who is intending to rebuild? I want to ask the county for a census. We know we lost 911 homes, 1,100 families. Let's find out who is intending to rebuild, because once we have a list with name by name, every person, every address, we're accountable to them, okay? And we need to hold the county accountable to make measurable progress on that list. We need to cut the red tape. There's red tape at the local level and there's red tape at the state level. If there's something at the local level that we can do, we need to clear that out as soon as we can, okay? These setback requirements we heard a previous speaker talk about, we gotta clear that. If it's state, we need to work with our state representatives to help our neighbors get back in their homes. I feel like if we don't do something now, we're all going to be next, right? We're all going to have to face the planning department. We're all going to face disasters. We've got to create a better system today for the future of this county. Thank you.
Thanks. And Monica, do you see a path for all homes destroyed in the fire to get rebuilt?
Right as it stands, no, I don't. That's why I want to know who's intending to rebuild, and I want to help them because they deserve to get back in their homes as soon as possible.
Okay, thanks. And this next one, we'll start with Chris. Oh, sure, Chris, yep. 10 seconds.
I'll be quick. I think what Monica said about red tape is right on target. We need to remove that. But this idea of a list of persons who want to rebuild, every single person who lost their home wanted to rebuild. Every single one. The folks who aren't rebuilding are not rebuilding because they couldn't, not because they didn't want to. You know, so what we need to do is address all of the people who lost their homes and do what we can for them.
Can I say something
Yeah.
on that? 'Cause I agree with
Yeah.
Chris on
And
that.
Tom, if you can hold the mic a little closer.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the home that it took me 20 months to rebuild, which is an exact model of the home that took me 3 weeks to build, When we finally got it done, after going through every hoop, everything, I'm finally there. We have the final someday. We have the final. I had the inspector, and he's looking around. What else can I call? Nothing else. So finally he signs it, and then he looks around. He says, this is a pretty good house. I'm glad we did this. And I'm thinking, that's kind of like being in a concentration camp, having someone beating you with a pole for 2 years and then saying, I'm glad we did this.
Thanks, Tom. Wrap it up. Thank you. All right. Chris, for you, so for the homes that you believe can be rebuilt and may get rebuilt, do you think you can help the process move along faster than it has? If so, how, and how will you do that in your first term? And please be specific as possible.
Okay. Absolutely. A big part of our problem right now with the process moving forward is arbitrary standards that are unevenly applied. It's a cultural issue within the planning department. Depending on what inspector shows up and on what day, you may get a different answer or a different result. I know this from the work I've done with other fire families who are trying to recover. So what we need a consistent approach. We need to start with a yes and not go looking for no's. That's what happens now. Let's take a look at this build. Let me find something wrong with it to stop this person from moving forward, instead of finding opportunities to get people into their homes. So I would start by changing that culture, by leading from the front, and by being deeply connected and present. And that's what's important. Folks want to do the right thing, right? You have to empower them. You have to make the right thing the easier thing to do. And you can do that by being there, telling them what it is that you need, and setting those expectations. Right? I'm a business owner. I come from business. And when you set clear expectations and then you hold people accountable, you get results. That's what I plan to do.
I was so caught up when you were saying that, I forgot the
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Good job.
The question is,
I agree with
There you
him
go.
and her, actually.
some opponent love. That's
Maybe we
always
can go
good.
home.
So for the homes that you believe can be rebuilt, do you think you can help the process move along faster? If so, how? And how will you do that in your first term? Please be specific.
I don't know how I could make it any slower. Okay. There is a culture, and the culture is we want you to be safe, and we want to do everything right. And the problem about being safe is that we're all going to get old and sick and die, and so none of us are really safe. Woody Allen said none of us are going to get out of here alive, and it's true. So I don't want the county to guarantee safety. Just get out of our way. So July, do you remember July 1891, July 17th? No, nobody does. The entire town of Boulder Creek burned down, July 17th. They rebuilt it in 2 years. This is before they had, electricity, cars, computers. They rebuilt the town of Boulder Creek, the downtown Boulder Creek, in 2 years. They didn't have anything, but they didn't have any government either. And now, 4 years later, we lose 1,100 homes. We built 37 back. We got everything. I'm sure you've talked with all kinds of folks, computers and everything, but we have government. To me, that's the difference. Back off. Let us do this thing. I mean, this is insane. We have a home up in Idaho, and to get a permit in Idaho was $30 and one sheet of paper, and when you're done, they want a picture of your finished house. This is insane. I mean, I love it up there, but anyway. So am I out of time now? Probably. She just gave up on me.
Yes,
I'm
you
sorry.
are. No, yeah. That was perfectly timed, Tom. Yeah, that was
all
great.
right.
You
You
did
didn't
great.
give up. All
Yes.
right. Sorry?
Give the mic to Monica, please. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to have you repeat the question again.
No problem. Yeah. Okay. So the question: for the homes that you believe can be rebuilt in the CZU burn scar, do you think you can help the process move along faster? If so, how? And how do you plan to do that in your first term? Please be as specific as possible.
Thank you. I think this goes back to accountability. I think we currently have a planning department that's reporting to the CAO's office, who's reporting to the board, that we've done everything we can. And we need to represent our residents. The 5th District Supervisor, I need to represent our residents to the county and to say, this is what needs to happen. We need rebuilding faster. We need your support. We need you to open the gates in the planning department because the gates have been closed for too long. Being specific, we need to allow third-party permit planning reviews, right? If we don't have enough staff right now, then let's allow our folks to hire a third party to do that plan check. We need to ensure that there's no wait list. Today, we have a wait list for people who are submitting permitting applications, and sometimes they won't even let you get on the list. They're not accepting submittals, right? And that doesn't only slow things down for folks trying to rebuild, that slows things down for folks trying to build ADUs, for anybody who's trying to develop affordable housing anywhere in the county, right? It's slowing us down. So we need to fully staff our planning department, we need to fully fund them, and then we need to hold them accountable to opening the gates. So that way we can make progress in this county, because we've been backlogged for far too long.
Thank you. We got a mic for Teresa.